used to think bad things were always happening to me. But what if I was the director, not the damsel, in my own drama? What if freedom isn't about being rescued, but realizing you were never truly trapped? I used to feel singled out every time something bad happened to me, whether it was a higher power or something as small as a high school bully. I truly believed I attracted bad luck. It felt like nothing good ever happened for me, and when it did, it was always overshadowed by the next undesirable thing. I wore a permanent scowl in my heart like a badge. Living in a constant state of survival kept me in a state of blah. So when something went wrong, I was never really surprised. I caught myself saying things like, I suck. My life sucks. I'm just not lucky. I didn't realize the harm those words were causing my brain. I felt entitled to those feelings. I talked about them every chance I got. My misfortunes, my mistakes, the reason I believed I was the way I was. What I didn't realize at the time was that I was quietly creating an environment of self-victimization. When we hear the word victim, we tend to imagine something extreme, someone who's given up, someone who's angry, someone who blames everyone else. But self-victimization is usually much quieter than that. It shows up in the way we talk about our lives. It sounds like always needing to explain, like justifying why something didn't work out, like rehearsing the reasons why we couldn't try before we even do. It lives in thoughts like, that's just how my life goes. Things never work out for me. I'd rather not get my hopes up. And none of that feels dramatic. It feels responsible. It feels protective. But over time, those stories start shaping how we move, what we avoid, and what we stop believing is possible. Not because we can't, but because we've already decided how the story ends. And the hardest part is that we don't even realize we're doing it because it doesn't feel like giving up. It feels like being prepared for the next ball to drop. And once I became aware of it, I realized I wasn't stuck. I was rehearsing. We don't self-victimize because we're weak. We do it because our minds are trying to protect us. The brain is wired for survival, not happiness. And survival means avoiding pain. Even if that pain is emotional, at some point, disappointment taught us something. Maybe hoping hurt. Maybe trying felt risky. Maybe being let down left a mark. So the mind adapts. It starts creating shortcuts. Expect less. Brace yourself. Stay prepared. And here's where it gets interesting. Every thought we repeat strengthens a pathway in the brain. The more often we tell ourselves a story about who we are or what happened to us, the more familiar the story becomes. Not because it's true, but because it's practiced. Over time, the brain starts choosing familiarity over possibility. And what once felt like protection begins to feel like a personality. That's why self-victimization feels safe. It's predictable, it's familiar, and it keeps us from being surprised, even by good things. And once we understand this, we can stop fighting ourselves, because awareness isn't about tearing down the old story. It's about gently realizing we're allowed to choose a new one. The shift doesn't happen when we criticize ourselves. It happens when we notice. When we catch the thought, not to judge it, but to understand it. Because awareness changes the relationship we have with our inner voice. Instead of believing every story it tells, we begin to listen with curiosity. We start asking different questions. Not why does this always happen to me, but what am I believing right now? Not what's wrong with me, but what part of me is trying to stay safe. And in that moment, something powerful happens. The pattern pauses. And in that pause, we remember we have a choice. Choice doesn't mean forcing positivity. It means gently widening the story, letting in the possibility that things don't always have to go the way they used to. Because we're not here to relive the past. We're here to respond differently to the present. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering you were never as stuck as you thought. Awareness doesn't demand change. It invites it. Practicing this doesn't mean catching every thought. It doesn't mean fixing yourself. And it definitely doesn't mean never feeling disappointed again. It starts small. It starts with noticing when a familiar story shows up. Not to argue with it, just to recognize it. Oh, this again? And then offering yourself something gentler. Maybe a pause, maybe a breath, maybe a new question. Is this the only way this could be true? What else might be possible? You don't have to replace the old story right away. You just have to stop rehearsing it automatically. Because every moment you choose awareness over repetition, you create space. And in that space, new responses begin to form. If any of this felt familiar, let it be a moment of compassion, not criticism. You weren't failing. You were coping the best way you knew how at the time. Self-victimization isn't a flaw. It's a learned response. And learned responses can be softened. You don't have to rewrite the entire story today. You just have to notice when you're telling it. Because awareness isn't about control. It's about choice. And the more gently you choose, the more your life begins to meet you there. Be curious, choose kindness, and stay a little delusionally mindful. See you next time.